Hello, Ryan.
Hello, Rachel.
How are you doing?
I'm feeling good.
Oh,
I'm
I'm
feeling
glad
good.
to hear that. Would you care to elaborate on what is making you feel good?
Well, I was feeling a little stressed out earlier, but I put a 10-minute timer on so that I could get some rest in the dark like a vampire with my hands up
On your chest.
on my chest. Yes,
Crust.
shrouded in the darkness as I need. That's why I'm feeling much better now. How about you? How are you doing?
You know, I'm all right. I've been thinking about getting into some gardening.
Really? What kind of plant do you want to kick off the garden with?
Legitimately, I'm interested to start growing some herbs and like some rosemary and some basil, maybe.
What about some thyme? Do you want some thyme in there? Some rosemary and thyme?
No, I don't like thyme as much.
So you're always more of a rosemary fan out of that show, huh? That was a show, yes? I'm not
yes,
insane.
it was. I was just ignoring it.
How dare you ignore it? It's like people who put out the Expanse. What's their name? Amazon. And how it seems like they went out of their way to ignore this final season and the bonus material, these one-ship shorts. I have found out some more shenanigans about the one-ship stuff. Are you ready to hear about it before we even get into the discussion of Zenobia?
Go ahead.
So, we don't have Amazon, you and I. We've never had Amazon Prime.
Yes, we have.
Not like as a full service. Like, we had it as a trial-y thing for Star Trek Picard. Amazing.
And I had it also as a bonus for Audible for a little bit.
There you go. But we never were
No.
users of it. So, from what I can understand, they have a feature, at least at the time these released, X-Ray, I think it's called, in which it's where you go to the bonus stuff. Like, here's a featurette, here's some pictures, here's a trailer, here's some...
We encountered this when we watched LaQuisha.
Ah, yes. An amazing film. What an amazing film that is. Now, the weirdness of these shorts they were exactly like how short treks were presented on Netflix, in which they were hidden away in this specific place on the streaming site. So with Netflix, it was you had to find these in Star Trek Discovery in the trailer section, while in this, it's in the X-ray section. And to put more of a headache on it, from what I understand, or what I understood of what it was like then, you would go into this, you would press into this, but it wouldn't work unless, one, you were on the episode. So, for instance, you have to watch Season 6, Episode 1. You have to be on that to then press the X-ray feature to get the first one. And then to get the second one, you have to be on the second episode to get the second one ship. And not just, you get the Amazon logo at the start. No, you have to actually watch, you have to press into the episode. Isn't that crazy?
Is it linked to a specific point?
I'm not too sure. Like, it corresponds with the episodes, so that's annoying. And then from what I understood, again, I don't know if this was fixed or if this is just still the anomaly of it all, you couldn't watch these on full screen. For whatever reason, the feature you would press full screen would not put it on full screen.
Yeah, because I guess it's an X-ray thing, not an actual episode.
But it's actual material. And on certain places or devices or something or other, you could only view it on the Fire Stick or this device or this device. So maybe you could view it on your Windows browser, but you couldn't view it on your phone unless you had this thing. I don't know. It's so bizarre how they treated this final season in general. And I guess I wanted to bring that up because This short that we got to watch today, Zenobia, which is the second installment in One Ship, very much feels like a deleted scene of an episode rather than an actual short on its own.
Yeah, like it didn't feel fully like a deleted scene to me, but it definitely was closer to that than our first one.
So the IMDb description is very quick and to the point. Avasarala has a brief moment of respite from the turmoil of governance, but is interrupted by a call from her granddaughter. You and I were believing going in that this would be an Avasarala episode because of the name, of course, and it is, and you and I were both thinking that she would be communicating with family. You were thinking Ashanti, I was thinking grandson number one. Little did we know it was granddaughter. Number one?
We didn't check the credits. Sorry.
Two. No, she actually has a name. She gets a name because Avasarala actually says it. It's if I look it up, Kiki. She gets a name. She gets a little name drop. Right. So she is bestowed with the importance of a character name. Even though I imagine we'll never see this character pop up in the main show, she will only exist in this short, and yet they cared enough to give her an identity, which they didn't do with the grandchild that was in several episodes and actually introduced us to Christian as a character. Just bathe in that knowledge for a second. But I already kind of kicked off a little bit, in my opinion. This is much more, to me, leftovers than the previous One Ship. I thought the previous One Ship, I could see it being justified as a short and not necessarily being within an episode. It wouldn't fit the pacing. There was a little bit more meat on the bone thematically and character-wise that doesn't take away from it not being in an episode. While this, in particular, it did feel like if this was in the second episode that we just watched, it would have given us a little bit more of a headspace of what Christian gets up to when it comes to giving Monica a job to do at the end.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. It feels like the deleted scene that prompts Avasarala to ask Monica to put a face to it. But I did enjoy it for the most part. It also made me frustrated because there was a time where I would have I was frothing for time with Avasarala, right? It was the thing that both of us wanted. And now we're getting a whole thing dedicated to her and her struggles and her experiences. And I'm like, okay. And I'm sad that I'm not more excited about it.
Why is that the case, do you feel? Has she lessened as a character, or have the other characters just gone up so much?
I think it is a mix of both. We both just did not enjoy her story in season 4, right? The election story is,
and she was
4?
Missing in the back half of season 3 as well. So there was a period of time in which we didn't have her. And then the 5th season, she was decent. She was great, but that season had so many other elements that were more attractive to us.
It's like she came in swinging back in season 1, and it was great to have her there.
She was like the selling point of the series. She was like the unique quality of what was a rather familiar sci-fi setting and characters. She was the crowning jewel of something different, something that this series promises to be.
Mm-hmm. And then it's just like, I wish that I was still as attached to her as I used to be. But it feels reminiscent of how people talk about seeing like their ex-partners of like, oh, we used to have a fun time and now we don't have a fun time, but we're kind of civil.
This short was perfectly fine, but it did also flag up for me my feelings towards the character and how much they have waned over the series, and why is that? And I think that this short captures it beautifully in a weird way. It's because over the course of the series, she is very much like Bobby in a lot of ways, where she's isolated from the rest of the characters. She's in her own bubble, in her own sphere. And in those first 2 to 3 seasons, she had personal attachments that humanized her, gave her something that we could find tangible, but also made her much more of a murky and complicated character. And that went away. They tried to do something in season 4 with her husband, but it just didn't feel authentic to that relationship and her character. And they were driving it to a very specific endpoint that felt false. And I say this because I feel like Christian has been stuck in what Bobby has been stuck in, which is they exist for whatever their plot is. They are plot-driven characters rather than emotionally driven or thematically driven at times, and or they are the ones that you tune in for to see them overcome a burden or challenge that is some sort of systematic problem in the case of Christian. While in those first couple of seasons, she had a husband, she had a grandchild, she was defined as an elderly woman with attachments beyond just her job.
Yeah, but also the way that she did her job was very much tied to who she was and what she believed in and her relationships. We got to know about her politics through her conversations with her husband.
And the short does capture what I love about those early days of Christian, which is the murky duality of her as a person, where when we first met her, she's this grandmother. That's how we met her. She's the grandmother. She's running around the lounge room and tickling her grandchild and laughing, to then cut to her in the deep, dark dungeons torturing a belter because that's her job. Her job is to protect Earth, and this is the reality of what it looks like. And to have both of those people exist in the one person is great. It's fascinating as a character, and that's presented here again with the granddaughter calling her up, leaving a message and showing this naive view of how to survive, while Christian is depressed and is overwhelmed and is physically stressed as she's doing these self-medical diagnoses, and you see it's all off the charts and she needs medication and she needs to take other people's advice. She sees this message from her granddaughter and it's like, it warms her heart and makes her realize
that talks to her is fucking shit.
Gareth is his name.
He's like, he's meant to be kind of shit,
but he's more believable than the shitty side characters she's been given in the past.
Oh, yeah.
He genuinely feels like an admin person bureaucrat that would be on her staff. Like, he seems competent enough.
In these conditions as well.
Yes, so there's something to praise there. But, as I was saying, Christian is a character that the short brought this back into my mind of, like, I liked how we had the obvious virtuous side of her, this woman with a family, and she's a caring person, and she's smiling and laughing, and she's being, cute in a way. But then, because of her job, she's also this person that you question their morality at times. And maybe that's gone now, but within this episode, there's something more down to earth about her, because she is both overwhelmed by her job but ecstatic at the connection from her family.
It made me miss Brian George. it made me miss, because we both didn't connect to the sort of her husband 2.0, because for us it did feel like a different character in a lot of ways.
Different dynamic.
When they recast it. So it made me feel his absence, especially when she's like struggling with looking at all of the physical signs of her stress.
What else was happening in this short?
They're continuing to try and figure out a way to help Earth, because the rocks, their debris in the atmosphere and stratosphere and
the water as well.
Yeah, like
they were being poisoned by the aftermath of Marco's attacks, and it's just logistical talk of what to do about that and what it feels like.
She's just like, we'd be like belters, and he's just like, we could do this.
Yes, if we're going to be like belters, let's use their techniques to have survived. And she just rolls her eyes. It goes back to what she was saying to Monica about, I can get the statistics all I like, but it doesn't actually put a face on it. And that's what she gets with the message from her granddaughter. She just had a conversation where she heard the statistics. Sydney, by the way, not looking too good, huh? The sky is white up there, so not looking good for our friends up in Sydney. Whoopsie. But then
it didn't mention Melbourne specifically.
We're fine.
Though.
We're fine. We're further south.
Not quite as bad.
By the way, the series is putting its foot down and saying Australia is a part of Asia.
Asia, yeah.
It's going with the Australasia thing. You know, we're our own continent, guys. You know, just saying.
But
what's next? Oceania? Okay. All right.
Well,
Don't get me started
is kind
about
of
this.
the step before Australasia.
I know. I'm making sure to point at the show and say, don't you do this to us.
Yeah.
We're our own continent. We're the only country that's a continent.
Hey, I'm sure many other countries have lost their identity in the shuffle, because they just referred to like the certain trading area. So it's not even the like country specifically. It's like it's like a sector of Earth.
But to finish off that statement I was making, then she does get the message from her granddaughter, and that's the face of the problem, because her granddaughter, like I was saying earlier, she's this sweet, naive child who is growing her own garden of things, and she has a hamster, and we're going to survive.
Hamster gives the fertilizer.
I'm going to feed my family and do my part. And although it's a small thing, it is something that Christian needs the reminder of, which is not just she's not the only one looking out for humanity. People are looking out for each other, even if it's in these very, very minor ways.
Yeah. Like, people are trying to do their part.
What did you feel about this choice for the short itself? For one ship about Christian, this is what they decided to give us. How do you feel about it?
I'm a little disappointed, because it doesn't feel as important or as interesting as the one for Drummer.
No, because the one with Drummer, even though she herself wasn't in it that much, it rang more true because it was about her personal relationship with Naomi.
It felt like it added extra depth to her in this episode, having seen that.
True.
Knowing that Avasarala is going on some medication, assumably to help with her stress and maybe sleep. it doesn't immediately seem like it's going to be that important.
There is just a disconnect with this for me when it comes to Christian as a character, because unlike with Drummer, where you can have a short dedicated to her unrequited love for Naomi, and that is satisfying because it has been a recurring thing throughout her entire run as a character, Christian, with relationship to her family and grandchildren, just isn't there.
No, we haven't
series,
spent time with that relationship.
We don't know this grandchild. That's okay. We at least know she has grandchildren, but like we don't know it. We didn't know Ashanti existed until last season. Like it's been a big statement of fact
that they were like she sent them back to Earth, because I thought last we heard they were coming to Luna.
Yes, but time has passed and they've probably gone back down.
Of course, but it's just like, well, they didn't bother to tell us that.
We don't know anything about her family. That's what you're saying in the long run of it. We don't know anything about them. We don't know who they are. We don't really know much about them. All I get out of Christian's family was they were something to set her up as a character, but they don't actually want them in the series or around to really help be a defining trait of her character. It was there to pitch her as a person to us, and then we've moved on. We never got a name for the grandson. Her husband, you know, as wonderful as it is that Brian George played him, they didn't do much with him either. Like, a lot of it came down to the actor just has so much presence and brings a lot of gravitas with him wherever he goes because he's one of the best character actors living. But when they come in season 4 and try to play the card of her family, it feels hollow because where has it been this whole entire time? Where is Ashanti? We never even knew she existed. And I don't care about the books and if they handle this stuff better and if it makes sense there. We're talking about the show. And so when this one ship comes along and it's gonna cash in on the family side of Christian as a character, it just doesn't pay off because this has been an aspect of her that's been really sidelined the entire time, and we're at the end. It's too late. And it's not even about, I want to push back against this, it's not even about that we don't get enough screen time of it. You can still have minimal screen time dedicated to this and still make it impactful. For instance, Sheridan from Babylon 5. One of the greatest things about his character, one of my favorite relationships he has, is his dad. Barely features in the show, maybe gets 1 or 2 scenes talked about him, and yet by the end of 110 episodes, I can say Sheridan loves his dad. Sheridan is a daddy's boy. Like, he's a good old Southern boy who loves his dad, and they grew up like this. I could tell you so much about, like, that part of Sheridan. Like, Sheridan is a family man in that way, and he wants to emulate his dad. He names his kid after his dad. Like, it all makes sense. It all lines up. And yet, if you actually statistically boiled it down, it probably is referenced in about 3 minutes of screen time across 110 episodes. So it's not about screen time. It's just about how you actually put the emphasis and the focus on it. With Christian, it seemed like they were going to do that at the beginning, and then they just drop it they just drop it. It's just, she is the job. You want to see her be the job, which is fine, but
you can't have it both ways.
Zenobia, anything else you want to say about this minisode?
I liked seeing more of her ship.
Zenobia is a reference to a historical figure and one that is culturally significant in certain parts of the world. I do believe in Syria she's an important figure. She was kind of like a warrior queen type, and that is very
Avaslara.
Very apt to name after for her flagship. I like seeing the relationship that they have with Martians.
Yeah.
That was a quick little bit banter and back and forth,
Yeah.
but I liked it.
Yeah. It was nice to see her doing just the monotonous part of her job as
And
well.
I love
like
that
a
they
little bit of
all.
a different perspective.
I love the humor of everyone fucking hates that they're called the Free Navy. Every time it's brought up, people like, even other belters in the actual mainline show, I was like, stupid name. Now, do you want to know the name
Yes,
of the next one?
I do.
Would you rate this mini-sode a yum or yum yum?
Yum. It's fine, but it's not good.
It's a fine.
I will forget about it.
I am on the same page as you. It's a yum. I feel like this was just a weirdly harsh reminder of the weaker points of the Christian character for us. Still love her, still think she's great, love this performance, I love her zingers, and I love to see her politicking, but it did give a little bit of a sting as well with this. Now,
how far she's fallen for us.
But also how far we've come. Back in the day, I never thought that another character would even come close to Christian.
No.
I do think, and I just want to really put this in stone. I think it's that all of the characters have risen up over the course of the show rather than she's just fallen lower as well. I want to just say that.
Oh, yeah, like everybody dipped in that season.
But just in the series in general, like Holden's become a much better character for us.
Yeah,
pretty much everyone except for Bobby has leveled up.
Specifically, season 4.
Season 4 was rough for everyone.
Yeah, that's
for everyone.
I just wanted to acknowledge that.
The name of the next one ship is called Win or Lose.
No,
that's correct.
That doesn't sound like the name of a ship.
What do you think it will be? Who do you think it will follow? Yes, clicking sounds because you don't know.
No, I don't. I really don't know because I'm trying to think of who has a ship that we could go to, but maybe it's not another literal ship.
Will it be on the Rossi? We haven't had any on the Rocinante.
Maybe.
Will it be... Oh, I would love it if we had a recreation of the lasagna dinner that we had with Miller. But now it's Bobby and Peaches and just the weird awkwardness of these characters trying to have small talk. That would be nice. I would like that. Honestly, like that in the show. But I could see that being a short, just a one-off thing of just them awkwardly trying to give each other compliments, but also now it's a new family that doesn't really know each other. Like, Amos is the only one who knows anything, who knows Peaches as a person. Peaches doesn't know Bobby at all. They've just met, that type of thing. That's correct, right? Bobby and Peaches haven't met before. This is the season where they've met each other.
Yeah, I don't.
No, because
think so.
She was already locked up by the time maybe Bobby and her are standing next to each other, but that doesn't count. Actually interacting. They've served together now. And that's my pitch. What about you? Win or lose? What do you think it will be about?
I think we're going to be watching some characters play a literal game.
Ooh, which characters? Do you think? Do you think it'll be all in the Rocinante? Do you think it'll be a couple,
I want
a
it
duo?
to be Amos and Peaches playing a game as she recovers in Medbay.
I would love it if they had an arm wrestling match and she uses her mod and sees if she's strong enough to... She would be. She would fucking rip his arm off. That wouldn't happen, but I would love that. Oh, and Bobby's adjudicating? That would be great. She's like, I'm an arm wrestling champion. I beat a robot one time.
Yeah, I was gonna say
that's the one ship. Are there any other people you're hoping could get a one ship? Not even just you think they would, but you just would love to. Any other people that have popped?
Marco.
Really? Really? Why? And what would you want?
I just think that it would be interesting.
Following him around on Sarah's station. Maybe he is on a dinner date with his right-hand woman. Or he's on his ship heading to Ganymede. That makes me just want to prax one ship in which it's him and May.
I dare not hope. I dare not hope.
I dare not hope. Who's another spacefaring character or someone who's out and about floating there that we could get a one ship about? I'm God forbid, help me. Let's cut back to Illis for a second.
Yeah?
And see what those two scientists are up to. It just cuts to them and they're blind.
Oh, what about
they're covered in slugs.
On the ship being created above Laconia?
Oh, Cortazar? Oh, it's actually what Cortazar gets up to when he's not being a science freak. It's like he's actually into classical jazz, that type of thing. He's into funk music. We're actually hearing him listen to funk.
Thanks for listening, and a special thank you to the patrons who help support us to make this content and got to hear this episode first.
Thank you all so much for tuning in, and for those who pointed us in the direction of these one ships. I know that we may not always be laser focused on the actual shorts, but I think what I like about them a lot is they're a moment for us to really reflect on the given characters that they're choosing to give a one ship to, and in a weird way have us do our little touch base with them before the series is over, because when we do the reviews of individual episodes, there's so much to keep your finger on the pulse of, like, oh, we're going to make sure we talk about this. Well, the one ships, this is the benefit of them. And again, we have to end with this being the biggest question of all. Do you actually legitimately think the Gaunt Belter will appear in a one ship? Because I was shocked that he appeared in the main series. I could see him returning in one of these, but he was in the mainline show.
Yeah, maybe. Similar to Prax, I dare not hope.
I hope that he returns in the final one ship. He's in the final one and he meets up with the main characters. They all meet up together and he's there too.
Now Earthers know what it feels like to be Belter.